Hey guys, time for the Knight of Swords. So I love this card from the Robin Hood Tarot. There's so much movement in it, right? It's like brum 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 ba bum brum 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 ba bum. So yeah, there's a lot of action in this card. So the Knight of Swords. This guy, okay, so when we were in the page, he was all like doing the research and thinking about things and like putting things together. Well, when we get to the Knight, he is all about action, baby. He is like taking names and making lists and getting stuff done. So this card, it feels to me like he has so much energy. He has so much vigor, like he knows what his goals are, he knows what his targets are. So all that research, all that thinking, all those, interviewing and asking questions that the page was doing, now that has turned into the Knight. And the Knight has created targets, and he has created like actionable items that he's going to do, and he's doing them, right? So remember, the archetype of the Knight is someone who, leaves the castle, goes out, slays the dragon, he's successful, he comes home. So he accomplishes things. He gets things done. So this guy is someone who is going to operate from logic and objectivity, and he's going to take measurable actions, and he's going to calibrate them to whether or not he got to his goal. So whereas the Knight of Wands is going to do whatever the creative impulses that comes through, the Knight of Swords operates much more in his head and in what makes sense logically. And he is a lot more about ideas and theories. So when that translates into this Knight card, it's going to be, some of his actions might be based on his ideas and theories. So he might have read something about how to do whatever, and then he might make his actions based on the ideas, thoughts, and theories of either himself or of others. And so he'll probably create actionable targets in order to meet them. So this is the type of person who would be good at like mentally, organizing sales goals and be like, okay, this person's going to do that and this person's going to hit this target, and then this is the plan in order to hit that target. So they're very much about like, we're going to do so much this quarter, we're going to do so much that quarter, and like all this stuff like that. Inventory is what comes in my head. This person would be good at like organization and systems and processes in order to get stuff done. So that's something I definitely want to bring up. I don't think I've ever like read that in any tarot book, but the Swords personality knows that, in order to hit certain targets and to get certain things done, they need to be not just actionable, but measured. And so this is the type of person, and maybe Henry Ford, who invented the assembly line, was more of a Swords personality, right? Like this person would be like, okay, like how are we going to, hit this target, and how are we going to prevent that problem from happening again? Do we need to have a rule book in place? Do we need to have some sort of system in place in order to stop this from happening? Like, what do we need to do, and how do we need to arrange things and have a process or a system in place so that we can either prevent some difficulty from happening or create some sort of new objective and meet that in the company or in whatever it is. The Knight of Swords is definitely the type of person who would create a rule book, a manual, a list of processes, a checklist, some sort of system in order to make it so that everybody in the organization is on the same page, so that there are not errors in certain things, so that, certain targets and goals can be reached, right? This person is not all about airy-fairy things or like, oh, we all need to sing Kumbaya and feel good, right? Like, he's not into that. He's like, no, we need like a measurable, actionable process, and it needs to be logical, and it needs to make sense, and then we're going to assess it and see if it was effective or not, and then we'll like remake a decision if we're going to do the same thing again or if we're going to have a new process that's new and improved. Okay, so this person is very much about like bringing logic and actionable, measurable targets into whatever he's doing in order to create success, in order to achieve goals, in order to go to the next level, and the next level, okay? All right, so the reverse Knight, and this is the Prince, but the Prince is going to kind of be the same energy as the Knight, okay? Some cards are going to have the Princess and the Prince instead of the Page and the Knight. Anyway, so the reversed Knight of Swords. So this can mean several things reversed, so let's feel into the energy of it. Okay, so whereas this person has systems and processes that are logical, and he like hits his action targets, and he like keeps going from one level to the next level to the next level, and has like a series of successes. Upside down, this card means, you know, his process didn't work, his theory didn't work, what he tried to do didn't work, and he failed. Right? So he didn't go to the next level, he didn't pass go, things didn't get better. So whatever his research and theories and ideas were that he then tried to bring into practicality and make it concrete, actionable steps, they just didn't work in the practical realm. So they sounded good on paper, and then the ideas sounded good when he heard them and when he thought of them, but when he actually implemented them in the actionable realm, because remember, the Knight is all about action, when he implemented them, he found out they fell short, they didn't work, and they need to be reassessed in some way or changed. The other thing this card can mean upside down is somebody who doesn't learn from what they just did. So, you know, they had this process in place, they had this idea, this theory, they executed it, it didn't work, well then he did the exact same thing again. Like, he didn't reassess. Whereas when this card is upright, that person would assess, okay, well what percentage did this work, what percentage did it not work, what do we need to change, how can we do this differently, how can we do this better? Upside down, this person is not doing that. He like literally doesn't have an assessment, doesn't have a review, doesn't rethink the process, doesn't try to make it better. He doesn't have any of those like logical sort of thought processes in place in order to, you know, advance ahead to the next goal. So he like does the same thing again and like gets the same result, and then like wonders why he's stuck. But he's stuck because he's not using his strengths. He's not using his talents and his I was going to say emotional logic. He's not using his logic, and he's not using his intellect in order to solve problems. So this person might be being overly emotional, or just not using their intellectual strength is what I'm hearing in my head. That's the information that I want to convey. The other thing this card can mean upside down is this person has taken, you know, a lot of action, but they did so with a really bad foundation. Like, their theories and ideas about what would work were like bad. So he had either incomplete information or he had wrong information that he started out with, and then he went in, when he implemented it in his life, it didn't work. Well, it didn't work because he had flawed foundation to start with, okay? Flawed ideas, flawed theories, etc. The other thing this card can mean reversed is his ideas and his thoughts are scattered. He can't put them into a coherent sort of way for other people to understand them. He's not good at articulating himself. He just can't seem to bridge these thoughts and ideas that he has and bridge them into action, and to get other people to like agree with him or like follow the process that he's put out, because he hasn't made a good argument, because he doesn't know how to express himself clearly. So this person comes off as like scattered and disorganized in his thought processes, and that makes other people be like, well, you know, I'm not going to follow you because you can't even articulate what you're trying to say, so why would I do that, right? Like, I'm not going to do what you just told me to do, or I'm not going to do the process you just told me to do, because it doesn't make any sense, okay? So this person would be totally unclear and ambiguous and just not mentally sharp, okay? All right, the next thing that comes to me about this card is that this person might, you know, when that's upside down, this character might constantly switch, you know, the task that he's on, the goal or the task that he's on. So he might take a couple steps forward on this task, and then he switches, and then he does a couple things on this task, and then he switches, and then he does a couple on that, and right? So he gets nothing done, right? He doesn't, you know, slay the dragon and save the girl, right? Because he sees that castle, and then he's like, oh, but wait, there's another castle over there. Maybe I should go to that castle. And then he starts going to that one. And then he gets closer, he's like, oh, wait, you know what? You know, that one over there looks like it's going to be a lot easier to ransack. I'll go do that one, right? And then he starts going through that one. So what happens is he conquers no castles and slays no dragons. So therefore, there's no victory. So he doesn't, you know, he's got, Shiny castle syndrome. That's what just came into my head. That is absolutely hilarious. So he's got shiny castle syndrome, where he can't possibly pick a castle. He can't possibly pick a task. He can't, you know, make a commitment. Yes, I'm going to do that and I'm going to get that done and I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. So this person might be all talk and no castle. All right. I feel like that was a really good analogy. Thanks, universe. That was spectacular. I'm going to remember that. Shiny castle syndrome. Okay. Yeah. So let's go into the Queen of Swords.